All right, let's get started.
Okay.
I don't even know how to introduce this except to say that I got a special guest with me today. Maybe I know him from Man Cave Monday, you
Sans
know?
the hat.
Right, I'm about to say, but maybe not because he ain't got a hat on today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hatless Nestor today. You know what I mean?
It's like
Never.
Superman Clark Kent. Like
Right. He said, this
the
is
hat
not
changes
Man Cave.
everything.
Everything. I'm like, who is this guy? I don't even know this guy. Who is this guy? So yeah, got Ness with me here today, longtime friend, and my co-host, one of many co-hosts on the Man Cave Monday podcast. And so I've called upon Nestor to have an interesting chat today because I don't do too many of these topics that we're about to get into, but I felt like this one was worth having some fun. And I think we can have an interesting conversation. And also, I usually do similar stuff with Dashing D over on weeknights, but this ain't really a weeknights topic. So I said, how I'm gonna do this? I'm gonna have to call upon the others in my cipher. So here's Ness, and we're gonna talk a little bit about Harrison. What is it, Butker?
Butker.
Butker. What a name, man. Butker. Yep. Harrison Butker. So I'm going to put the video up in here for y'all to watch. So we don't got to recap the whole shebang. So here's some news coverage of Harrison Butker giving a commencement speech at a college.
It's commencement speech season, and that is, of course, usually an opportunity for community leaders to, some of them, let's be honest, some people have lots of cliches, but they're usually very heartwarming, shooting for the stars, never give up. But then there was this one. Harrison Butker, the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, took a different route. The three-time Super Bowl champ is facing backlash for a speech that he gave at Benedictine College over the weekend. Watch some of this.
I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now, about to cross this stage, and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I'm on this stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker. Part of what plagues our society is this lie that has been told to you that men are not necessary in the home or in our communities. As men, we set the tone of the culture. Be unapologetic in your masculinity, fighting against the cultural emasculation of men.
So the NFL put out a statement. They said this, quote, Harrison Butker gave his speech in his personal capacity. His views are not that of the NFL as an organization. The NFL is steadfast in our commitment to inclusion, which only makes our league stronger.
His message to young men:
be unapologetic in your masculinity, fighting against the cultural emasculation of men.
Butker taking aim at LGBTQ Pride Month with a joke.
Pride. Not the deadly sin sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it.
And even quoting Taylor Swift in an apparent jab at some Catholic clergy.
Because as my teammate's girlfriend says, familiarity breeds contempt.
The speech was met with applause at the small Catholic college. Butker, the Kansas City Chiefs, Benedictine College, and Taylor Swift all not responding to NBC News' request for comment.
All righty. So now that y'all seen that clip there, you probably have some feelings. We probably have some feelings. And so I give the floor to my guest first.
Okay.
Talk to me, player.
So this is really, really interesting in general. Just the things he said, or the part that we're focusing, or the part that I saw at least.
Yeah, because this is 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The full speech is like 20 minutes. We're not giving him that much time.
Right.
But the clip notes that the news gave us is a mouthful.
Yes. So firstly, this is going to be interesting because my opinion on what he said really straddles the fence between how I personally feel what he said is wrong and who he was talking to, it wasn't necessarily
It wasn't you.
incorrect.
Right.
Right? It's not incorrect.
Right.
It's like he's talking to a Catholic college about traditional family roles and whatnot. So looking at it from that perspective, it's like, okay, this makes sense, right? He's like, hey, I understand you guys are going to the workforce, but I think you're most excited about starting families and getting married.
Right.
That's your long-term goal, because that's what you really care about. And I think that's not a terrible thing to say to like people with like-minded views. I think the way he said it is where his failing is,
Okay.
because what he ends up doing is saying this is all that really matters to
Yes.
anybody.
Yes.
And it's like, that's kind of where you're losing me, right? Like, your opinion on the way family structure should be is your opinion, and that's if that works for your family, your relationship, cool. It doesn't work for mine. It's not, it's not necessarily how I see things. So, but you're free to feel that way. But when you say,
go ahead, go ahead. Sorry.
but
No,
when
no,
you say that, anybody, that's all that anybody cares about is that end goal of marriage and families, and that you're being fed a lie to only care about careers, it's like, it's not really what's happening, right? It's not really a lie that's being fed to you, that you only should care about careers and you should, this should be the end goal. There are, extremists on that end where that would say, yeah, like if you're a woman and you want to be a housewife and you want to be a mother, then you're wrong. There are people that are out there that say that. They're equally as wrong as him. Like, I don't think that they're right either. Like, their answer is wrong as well. It's not, oh, it has to be this way or it has to be that. The whole point is it's what's right for you as a person. Like, you find your truth. You find what matters to you. If that's having a family, if that's being a mother, staying home, taking care of your family, being married, if that is what your ideal is and that's what you're looking for, great. And if it's on the other end where it's being a career woman and furthering your career and building that up and doing all of that and not having a family or not getting married or whatever it is, if that's your ideal and that's what you're looking for, then great. And if it falls somewhere in the middle, somewhere with a mix of all that, fantastic, right? As long as you're finding what's important to you and you're finding what works for you or what you feel you're most comfortable with.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just feel like his message is only wrong in the delivery. Him saying, to and it kind of makes sense because a lot of like religious people have these like traditional values, or they try to push these traditional values. And if that's what works for the person, great. If it isn't, then it isn't. Like, yeah.
All right, but let's talk a little bit about your views.
Yeah.
For the people who are not used to seeing you on Man Cave, and maybe this is their first time seeing you, are you a strict Catholic?
I am not.
I know.
So I guess we could go into my history of this real quick, right?
Just to kind of see where,
right.
Just so the audience, the listeners and viewers can kind of see where you're coming from, because clearly his audience gave him a standing ovation.
Yeah,
and they were feeling what he said. We'll get back to that, but they were feeling what he said. You're not feeling what he said, and I feel
I'm
like
not feeling the way he said it. Really, yeah.
Okay, right, that's fair.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe a little bit of context about you may help them understand a little more. So tell me about
to keep it as a part of what this conversation is, right? As as a Hispanic male,
Okay.
I was baptized Catholic, right? So boom, I have some time in the church in my youth,
Right. You were
right?
born into
And
sin.
right. And I have my experience with the church and all of that. And I also have experience with more liberal churches, because
Okay.
my mom's gay. So in my teen years or so, or preteen years, I did experience some time like with non-denominational churches and churches with like gay pastors and things like that. And I
That is
had that
extreme.
experience. Hmm?
I said that is extremely progressive.
Yeah. So it is something that I have an experience on like different ends of it, and eventually I came to a point where it's like, well, this isn't for me, right? This isn't my path. Religion isn't my path.
Right.
Um, the most accurate that I can say that I am would be agnostic. In that regard.
Yep.
And then
And
to
and
go
what's agnostic for the audience?
basically I believe the possibility of a higher power. Don't explicitly I can't explicitly say there is none, because I have no way to prove it, because you can't prove a negative. So yeah, so that's kind of my stance on it. If I can't prove one way or the other, then and it has no bearing or weight on my life anyway. So
Okay. I'm
it's
agnostic
just
too,
boom.
but for other reasons, I feel like there's definitely something.
Yeah,
Something gotta be there
right,
besides just science.
right.
Things work way too perfect in our system, the ecosystem, our system as humans, all of that. But I don't know, is it Jesus? Is it Allah? Is it aliens? Is it
Right.
predator? I don't know. I don't know. Is it Mandalorians? I have no
Right.
idea.
Yeah,
But
it's an insane topic, because it's just like,
yeah,
who's right? You're all saying you're the answer, but like, who
okay,
really is?
okay.
And you don't
According to
have
Ariana
solid
Grande,
proof. Mm,
God is a woman.
okay, I mean, that's a believable thing, right?
Hey,
Creation,
listen,
this and that.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
I've always been like, yeah, like that makes sense to me. I've heard that before, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, that's
Come
a
on,
thing that
son.
would make sense.
Right,
Um,
Mother Nature. All right, I'm done.
right.
All right,
So
back
yeah.
to you.
So that's that. And then we explore the other half of this conversation, which is relationships. There is a recent term I learned called relationship anarchy. And
Anarchy.
yes.
Okay, I'm scared now.
And that is basically where I would say I fall, because I feel like so we'll rewind a bit. I'm non-monogamous, right? To be more specific, in polyamory, that people have the ability to love more than one person, and or to have romantic love for more than one person. And it shouldn't interfere with your relationships.
Gotcha.
Um and That's where that falls in. And then the relationship anarchy is something I learned recently about. Not I haven't delved too deep into it, but it seems to just make sense, because it's basically freedom to choose your relationship structure.
Okay.
So even if you come to the
Why is that
decision,
anarchy though? Anyway, whatever. Not the
because you're not, so the idea is, a lot of people, they choose monogamy because it's what
by
they
default.
know, and they feel like
Yes.
it's what they have to do.
Right. Conditioning. Social
Right.
norms.
So with relationship anarchy, you can be monogamous. You just have to understand that it is your decision. It's something you came to of your own volition, and it's not something that you're doing out of obligation or because you have to do it.
Got it.
So that's where that is. It's like, hey, it's all good as long as it works for you. Like, it's your thing, right? It's your relationship. You handle your relationship the way you handle your relationship, and that's it.
Got it.
Um
I was looking
so
for a dictionary definition, but
Yeah.
One is not coming up.
Right. Definitions are unimportant, essentially.
Mhm.
Labels are unimportant. However, your relationships are structured or how they're structured. So, for example, you can have a roommate, right? And the roommate is someone that you sometimes get intimate with, right? Not necessarily like, doesn't have to be sex, but whatever it is, right? But they're not, a partner. They're not a boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. So there isn't a clear defined answer for how you would label your relationships, because it's basically just like the person exists and we do whatever feels right in the moment
Got it.
and whatnot. So that's that. So
Got
that's kind of where that is, where they're talking about deconstructing those relations and all that. So all those pieces that make up a relationship are just existing. They're just happening.
Got it. So that's what you are.
Yeah.
Clearly, you are not a strict Catholic. You are clearly not. You clearly are not abiding by the strict rules that many of these very openly believers feel. Which leads me to, what's your political stance? Because this politics will come up in just a moment.
Yes. That is a more difficult question for me.
All right, well, let's do it like this. Are you Democrat?
Okay, I am a registered Democrat.
Okay, let's talk about it.
I'll throw in the keyword
So,
registered.
so that already cuts out Republican.
Right. So registered is the keyword, right?
Yeah, right.
Because that's my options, right? Register as Democrat, Republican, or independent.
Right. There's no tab for socialists.
Right. Socialism would be the closest to what I believe.
Okay.
And it's funny to say that, because a lot of people, when they hear socialism, they think communism, and they think very authoritarian and all of this, and like it's not. It's very much, hey, take care of your community. That's the extent of how I believe in socialism. Is you need to take care of your community, you need to take care of your people. The government is there to serve the people. Even with the government we have set up and formed right now, all the definitions, everything that's laid out, it says that they serve us. And so I feel like that's hilarious that people can harp on socialism for being a certain way and forcing people to give up, theirs to somebody else. And it's like, no, like it's really just about taking care of your people. It is about community. It is about, wanting others in your community to do better, because if other people do better, you do better. Like it's a pretty obvious thing, and it's not like it's not something that hasn't been seen before. And it's just it's hilarious that people just are so against it.
All of this to say, you are not a conservative Catholic man.
No, I am not.
With traditional Catholic views.
I am not.
So now hopefully the people have a good understanding of who Nestor is. Let's talk about this topic already, man. So you think his message is not necessarily wrong, but his delivery was. Why? Okay, why is that? I'm gonna get into my views in a minute, but
yeah.
Because
I definitely feel like that, there are people that feel that way, right? There are people that feel like, well, my ultimate goal is to get married and to have children, take care of the family, and my ultimate goal is to have a husband that takes care of me, and is the breadwinner, and is making enough money to take care of the family financially, and allows me the freedom to stay home and take care of the family. I'm sure, like, obviously, yes, there are people out there that feel that way. The big problem with his delivery is, he's saying that's the only way to feel. that you're wrong if you feel any other way. And then the other part that's wrong about his delivery is, it's extremely heteronormative. It assumes male and female relationship.
Yep.
And that's always my issue with conversations like that, is they always, when they create this, it's always the assumption of a male female pairing. And while that may be traditional, it's not every pairing, and not every pairing is a pairing, like, so it's really interesting. And that's kind of how I felt with that.
I like to read something. I found the transcript of the speech. I like to read something that I don't think was in the clip that you saw, or that I'm going to put up here. He said, "I think it is you women who have had the most diabolical lies told to you." That's in the clip. But then he says, "I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met back in middle school," and then he starts crying, "would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker. Isabel's dream of having a career might not have come true. But if you ask her today if she has any regrets on her decision, she would laugh out loud with no hesitation and say, heck no."
That's great. Big if true. Big if true.
Just thought that,
so yeah,
that
so that was kind of paraphrased in one of the clips that I saw.
Okay.
I think like they took like the beginning and then mashed it up with like the very end, where he was like that, like this is when she was most fulfilled and blah blah blah. I mean, that's great. If that's really how she feels, then that's fantastic.
We'll never know.
Right. Unless she says something, right?
And she probably won't, because even he has declined to comment on this thus far, fantastic. Since then. I think real quick, let me jump in here for just a second. I think part of giving a speech, part of public speaking, is knowing your audience, right? And so clearly he did a great job on knowing his audience. He spoke at a place that clearly is a Catholic school, supports strict Catholic views, conservative views, and he has been very public as of late about his political stance. And so all of this is kind of intertwined with the gig, right? Pretty sure he got a little slice of money or a donation to his charity or whatever for this. And even if he did it for free, he knew who his audience was, is my point. Yeah. And so as a person who does public stuff, him, not me, who does public speaking on that stage, not this digital stage, if you will, knowing your audience is an important part of the game. I think he gets an A+ for knowing his audience, because he knew who he was going there to speak to. Yeah. And they were quite pleased. There were no boos. There was no shooing him off the stage. There was no hesitation. As soon as his mouth closed, they stood up and standing ovations. So he gets an A+ on that. Next, I would like to say it's not surprising to me that someone who's very public about their conservative views, and conservative is the media's term, the public term. I'm not saying it's conservatives per se, but he's been very public about that as of late. So that's not surprising to me. When you have a core belief system, you are going to speak from that place very often, and that will inform a lot of your decisions. And so I'm not surprised once I learned that was kind of what he's been doing as of late. Because if he's walking around making it known that, hey, this is my political stance, these are the things I support, well, then what would he say differently there? Right. Nothing. He would say all of those things. I think where he might have messed up is maybe he didn't know there were going to be cameras there. Because I'll be honest, if there's no cameras, this goes very well. But this now viral, controversial speech is probably not what he thought it would be. I think he misjudged the situation. I think he underestimated the reach of the video. But it's 2024. You had to know there were going to be cameras, which makes me wonder, was this intentional? Perhaps he knew, y'all filming this shit? Y'all filming this? You sure? Okay.
About to give you the hottest of takes.
Exactly. Scorching hot takes. You know what I'm saying? Fresh out the oven. Come and get it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe this was exactly what he was aiming to do. Think about the moves he made.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke about the wife, which I read. He spoke on her behalf.
Mm-hmm.
He even used Taylor Swift's quote.
Yeah.
And made sure to mention his boy, who's her boyfriend. He
Spoke
brought
on
the
Pride
whole
Month.
squad in.
He mentioned Pride Month.
And I was and we gotta get to that too, right?
Keeping the relevancy of the time.
Of the time, because he knows
there. June is right.
He knows June is a few weeks away.
Yeah.
And if my conservative people watch this,
they're gonna like what I'm about to say.
They're gonna like all of this shit.
Yeah.
They're gonna eat this up. You know what I mean? They're gonna do the no hand eating contest. You know what I'm saying? Just all in there. Eating it all up. Making a mess all over the place. Just no hands, no utensils, facing the plate. And so I think that is possible. That's the question I thought. Because my first instinct was, yo, this dude didn't know there was cameras? Why would you do that with all the cameras around? Because you also got to know the NFL is not happy about this. They already put out a public statement.
They did.
Which is in the video. It was in the video.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That he's like doing this on his own. He's not.
Those are his personal views. The NFL does not stand with him,
which is hilarious.
Well, the NFL is a whole nother topic for a whole other podcast, perhaps a man cave episode. And we've kind of discussed that already up there. But so my second thought was, okay, let's widen the scope a bit. Let's put our thinking caps on. Because in 2024, you got to know there's cameras.
Yeah.
Maybe not the super fly professional cameras that we saw in 4K. Cats got cell phones.
Record. Yeah.
Right. Somebody's going to record this, be FaceTiming their mom or a relative or something. Or maybe they're just live streaming from their phone. Yo, I'm at Nestor's graduation. Yo, I'm live for everybody who couldn't make it today. So
there's a sports celebrity here. Hold on.
Right. Some guy. I don't know. Some guy. They say he got multiple Super Bowls. I don't know. What's the Super Bowl? What is that? He's a champion? This guy's a champion. Let me get on my phone. Hold on. Champion time. So I said, man, maybe this guy did know and did plan accordingly. Because that was a speech. He wasn't freestyling.
Yeah.
The jokes were in there, whether you like them or not is a different topic. We'll get to some of that in a minute. But the jokes were in there, he made sure to get the Swifties popping, shout out his very popular friend who's her boyfriend. This was kind of like a plan here. Do you think that's possible? Do you think this was his free commercial?
Anything's possible. I think it falls somewhere.
But I'm asking about the probability.
Right. I feel like it falls somewhere more in the middle.
Okay.
Obviously, right? So first off, as a celebrity, right? As a sports person, as an entertainer, as anyone in that realm, anything you do is probably going to get recorded, especially if you're doing it in public, right?
Of course.
Right? That's something you just know off the bat.
Right.
Right? So I feel like he understood that was going to be there. He understood, hey, people are going to hear what I'm going to say apart from these people here. and he may have crafted the speech to speak specifically to them, but I don't think he did anything extra or even if he did anything specific, taking into consideration that he's going to be recorded, I think what more likely is he reined in what he would say. I feel like that would be more likely. Because
you think he'd be more cavalier if there were no cameras?
Probably he'd probably say something a bit more or more specific or anything like that. I feel like it's a more of a possibility that he reined himself in than he's tried to say something, extra to get attention.
You see, I see that, but I also see the play of using Taylor Swift. Mentioning Taylor Swift, who's the fucking hottest in the game right now, and who...
But it's relevant. So it's not like he pulled Taylor Swift.
I know it's relevant, but I'm saying, knowing the cameras are there, and knowing, like you said, as a celeb, whatever level of celebrity he is, he's still a celeb, right? 3-time Super Bowl champion or whatever. As a celeb, cameras are out, you're being recorded. So you also know, if I mention the hottest couple out right now, especially amongst the whites, this could take off. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I also see this other side where, like, I'm going to mention Jay-Z at my speech, right? Like, or Beyonce, right? I'm going to mention, like, I'm going to do a speech and be like, hey, listen, I just want to say, as my idol Beyonce said on her latest album, this ain't Texas. Whatever the hell, but you get what I'm saying. Like, Or like, whoa, the Beehive heard that. Oh, JD said this ain't Texas. Hold on, let's put some Texas Hold'em behind his video. I think that's also possible. Like, all right, you're gonna let me talk on camera? All right, watch me work. Because I also think now, I'm a wild boy. Now I'm thinking, but who wrote that speech?
Yeah,
he wrote that speech. I got mad questions. And that's why I didn't want to do this topic by myself. I said I got to have somebody else here with me who I could get jiggy with, because there's too much crazy shit in this topic for me to not have a homie here.
Yeah.
And by the way, listeners and viewers, homie is gender neutral. Okay? Just in case. And now let's get to that. He said, I am certain the reporters at AP could not have imagined that their attempt to rebuke and embarrass places and people like those here at Benedictine would be met with anger, but instead wouldn't be met with anger, but instead met with excitement and pride. Not the deadly sin sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it, but the true God-centered pride that is cooperating with the Holy Ghost. And he at one point said, quote, the leaders of the world are, quote, pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America. Mic drop. And if you saw the video, when he said that, not that kind of pride, he smirked and paused. That was his little jokey joke.
Yeah.
Getting his hate off via the jokes. So my good friend, who I've known since I was 11, my good friend who has a lesbian mom, my good friend who feels very strongly about LGBTQIA plus topics. What say you? I know I put the battery in your back. You know what I mean?
That's cool. It's cool.
I found the biggest battery I had and was like, put this in Nestor's back one time.
So I took notes while watching the videos. I didn't take notes on that part.
Okay. Well, I read it to you, so
mostly because like I just brushed it off, right?
Okay.
Because again, right? I understand their view, right? Their view being like, you know, church going people, religious people, right?
But the Pope said,
I know what the Pope said.
okay.
I know what the Pope said, and dude is dope, but that doesn't mean he's gonna just change everybody's mind just because he's like supporting, you know, LGBTQ people, sort of. Because his statement on it is more of you need to be more accepting that these are God's people too, right? That's kind of like where his stance is. It's not a blanket we love and accept them to.
No.
It's more of a like they're people too, and they're
It's him
people of
saying,
God,
stop
and
quoting Sodom and Gomorrah,
right,
stop saying they're pieces of shit,
right,
and stop ODing on them.
right, because that's not, you know, holy. That isn't,
It's
you
not,
know,
it's
how
not
we
the
should
godly,
be
it's not the
operating.
godly ways.
Right. So cool on him for saying that. Like that's great. But you know, of course, you know, you're not going to change people's minds off of that. Off of just because you're the Pope and you said that.
And in support of that, shout out to Dex. As Dex would say, I'm just adding to what you're saying. You're right. You can't change everybody else's minds. And to add to that, the Pope's views on that topic of LGBTQ plus are not aligned with the conservative views.
Right.
So
that's the other part. So yeah, so I guess.
Well, you said you brushed off the comment.
Yeah, I brushed off his comment because like I understand that like, you know, his views, their views, that's where they're gonna be. And this isn't the conversation to try to fix that or really work with that or address it beyond, well, you know, they have, you know, a really limited, you know, sight on how they view the topic. And sure, you know, if we want to get technical and all this other stuff, their view on this is, you know, objectively incorrect because we have scientific evidence to, you know, dispute a lot of the things that they say when it comes to that topic. I feel like that there is a middle ground on the topic, right? So you'll have people with that view that are like, you know, this is completely wrong, this is untrue, these are lies, this isn't real, this is all fantasy, delusion, all the words, right? And then you have people on the other side, well, no, it's not. You have to completely respect everything about what I say, when I say it, how I say it. And if you don't, you're completely wrong, and that's it. Right. I feel like there is a middle ground on there, right? I don't feel like you're a bigot and you're transphobic or whatever if you misgender a person because you didn't know. Like literally, like that has been an issue where someone didn't know, or they have their view, and it's not like there is a difference between purposely doing something, like to maliciously do it or to say things, and out of ignorance. And I feel like if you attack someone that is acting out of ignorance as if they're being malicious, you hurt your side. You really, you're not actually trying to gain understanding. You just want to be right, and that's it.
Okay.
So
I think again, finish.
So I feel like that's an important thing to consider in this, because obviously that's what's going to happen, right? Especially when he does this speech, it's going to go public. It's going, you know, it went public everywhere. Everybody's seen it. Everybody has an opinion on different things that he said throughout it, and that's where the conversation is going to lie. It's going to lie somewhere between, yeah, he's right, these people are delusional, and no, he's a huge asshole, and you know, he wants to see us dead. Like that's a huge gap. And I think the truth from what he said falls somewhere in the middle. The truth for how he feels probably falls somewhere more in the middle. Like I definitely don't believe it's all the way at one end. And it probably is just out of ignorance. It may not be a purely malicious thing. And that's the way people will view it, is as something malicious. And I think that's important to see that, especially if you want to gain understanding, if you want to try to educate people, if you want to try to make sure people understand where you're coming from and all that, then treating everybody who is on the opposite side of you as malicious doesn't get you anywhere. Because not everybody's malicious. Yes, there's bad actors. Yes, there's people on that side that 100%, are hard nosed about it, and probably there's a bunch of people that are more middle of the road and will stay on that side just because like this is what they know, and they will keep the ignorance and they'll like completely disregard the other side as being just completely wrong. But it's a really like messy conversation, and it's part of why I brushed it off. I was like, for like what's going on with this, for the context of where the speech is happening, for all of that, I feel like it's a bad topic to take. It's a bad situation to try to have that conversation.
And that's why I
on
think
if he's
he
right
was
or
not.
wrong.
But that's why I don't think he was reining in what he said.
Yeah.
Because yeah, he knows his audience. Yes, we both agree on that.
Yeah.
But you didn't need to do a whole segment on the America's agenda on gender and pride having its own month. He couldn't
Okay.
help himself.
Okay.
Like that's like when you think of a dirty joke and you're like, man, I just gotta say this dirty joke. Like I can't help it. I just gotta do it. You know what I mean? You just blurt out,
Yeah.
that's what she said, or whatever the hell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you made sure not to say your wife would say hell. You made sure if you asked my wife today, she would say heck no. Well, then you also knew to, yeah, I'm going to get this shit off. I'm
Right.
going to make sure I come up here and say what I really want to say about a couple things while I'm up here.
Right. Right.
Because commencement speeches, like the clip says, the commencement speeches are usually like supposed to motivate the people on their
Right.
way out.
Right.
Give them love and a little bit of maybe even cliche, advice. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to tell them keep on trucking, stuff like that. But
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
not the gays don't need a month. That didn't need to be in there, conservative or not.
That's true. Yes.
And so that's why I say I don't think this was, and I don't know, this is my opinion. I didn't speak to the guy.
Yeah.
But I don't think this was him reining it in. I don't think this was him saying, all right, I'm gonna behave. I think this was, I got a platform, I got 20 minutes, and there's cameras. And right now, my quote unquote friend, because I don't know if they're friends or not, but he said, my friend and teammate, girlfriend, right? He knows that dude is dating one of the most popular people on the planet.
Yeah.
So I think that all is evidence of that. I also think, I think that it's a little tricky too, because as you see in the video, his audience didn't really love that joke. It was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
And said, and not the kind of pride that has its own month.
Yeah.
They weren't loving that part. You didn't hear people bellowing out in laughter. You didn't hear somebody cackling in the back. It was silent. So I think even in the knowing your audience part, it still was like, what was that? Why'd you feel like you had to say that right there?
Right.
And I think that also goes for the whole woman segment, if we're being honest, right? Which we haven't said anything about yet. The whole woman segment, you kind of said like, yeah, if it works for you and your family, cool. But to say, hey, to all the women here, you are completely being bamboozled. I'm paraphrasing now.
Yeah.
But he basically saying, yo, you got hit with the El Kabong. You don't know what's up and what's down. And let me give you the real shit. And it's weird to do that. It was very much about his agenda. And it just wasn't a smart play. Like, it's foul to tell all these women who are on their way out the door of academia and, getting their degree. And I don't even know what degrees they got necessarily, but who cares? Whether it was an associate's or a PhD, it doesn't matter. Right? You're telling these women, hey, I know you're excited. You thinking about promotions and jobs. Y'all are focused on the wrong shit.
Right.
Y'all need to be focused on being a mom, being a wife.
Yeah.
Why? Why would you say that to all these women? Like, you really couldn't help your... It was bad.
Right.
It was bad no matter what your views are politically or religiously. It's just like, that's what you want to tell the women who are leaving school right now? Like, this is what you want to tell the graduates? That, hey,
They chose higher education. They chose to spend more years in school, right?
and you're going to smack
for
them in the
whatever
face.
reason, yeah, it's just like, oh, this was a waste. That's essentially what you're telling them. Like,
Yeah.
you wasted your last few years, you wasted all that money, because all that really matters is getting married and having kids. That's it.
And the audacity of this man to speak for his wife. Where's your wife? You ain't say, honey, come here, let him know. Hey, my wife is right over there. When we're done, see her on the way out. She gonna let y'all know her thoughts.
I'm like, I don't care too much about that, because I see it as there's no way to know that he didn't speak to his wife about what he was gonna say.
And there's no way to know whether she agrees or not.
Right.
But we do know he spoke on her behalf.
Right.
And
so
said,
I feel like
I'm sure she would say.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's that part I'm just like, because yes, he's speaking for her, but like there unless someone says something, the best that people can do is assume based off their own experiences.
Or you could keep your wife's name out your fucking mouth. You know what I'm saying? Keep your own wife's name out your fucking mouth. We didn't need to know her name. We didn't need to know that y'all met in junior high. Like, you're trying to get some brownie points off of wifey too. Like, yo, this is weird, man. Like, this is weird. This, like, I gotta shout out Nestor because why? Why are you shouting out Nestor right now?
It makes sense, because if his
yeah, he's trying to sway them.
If the focus of his speech, or if what he's trying to talk about is, this is the end goal, this is what you're striving for.
Gotta show him my wife's happy.
Like, I am in a situation. I seen it. I my wife, she had her career and she made the decision.
No, she didn't have a career.
Or she was
her dreams didn't work out, remember?
Right. They didn't work out, or she decided to...
Oh, that's what the quote says. Hold on, I'll pull it back up for you, player.
Then I misremember.
Isabel's dream of having a career might not have come true. But if you ask her today if she has any regrets on her decision, she would laugh out loud without hesitation and say no.
Yeah. So yeah, she made the choice to do this. So yeah. So yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if she made that choice, like, I mean, that's kind of like what his thing is. It's like, oh, this is where she's most fulfilled. If she had decided to do the career route, she may have had regrets. It may not have happened the way she wanted it to.
Right. So be like my wife.
Be like my wife. She made the choice that made her happy, which is the choice that all women want.
It's foul, and it's like so audacious to speak on behalf of your woman to all women there. Like, and again, the cameras.
Yeah.
So you telling all the women in your mind, like, yeah, every woman that hears this, they need to know. They need to know. He was watching Talladega Nights when he was writing that speech. He's like, no, he needs to know. He needs to know.
Yeah.
And I guess this could be the last piece, unless you got something else. But the internet, gotta love the internet, man. The internet is always a fun place. There are people on the internet pointing out the hypocrisy of his speech, because his very conservative views are not practiced in his own family.
Okay.
His dad is a finance guy, and his mom is a physicist.
Okay.
I know it's wild. Hold on, I got you right now. Harrison Sr. is a financial analyst. This is according to Daily Mail, by the way. but it's been all over the internet. Just the first one that popped up when I looked it up. And Elizabeth is a physicist. That's Mom Dukes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Snopes wrote about it. Hold on, let me just see. Snopes be debunking everything.
For real.
Snopes says it's true. His
Okay.
mom is a physicist.
Okay.
A medical physicist, to be specific.
Ooh. Okay.
Yep.
Q Family Guy, you're a phony. He's a everybody. He's a big fat phony.
He's a big fat phony. Yeah.
It's funny because it's like what's her name? Pearl. Pearly thinks it was the same thing.
Pearly
Like
Thing. That's your
she
favorite.
was
That is your favorite internet hypocrite.
Yeah, it's great because she was doing the same thing. She's promoting a specific thing, and like her parents were not that at all.
Yeah, well, I guess I want to give a little bit of pushback here.
Yeah.
Because I have extremely different views than my parents.
That's true.
And so if you pulled up my parents on the internet, good luck. But if you pulled up my parents on the internet and found out about them and then heard my political views or my religious views, you would say, what's going on here? I mean, right. This don't really add up.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a family member who's heavy in the church. If I walk in the church, the building might burn down. You feel what I'm saying? Not me. The building might burn down.
Yeah.
That's not a threat to churches. I am
Nope.
merely spinning the joke for the internet people. But don't worry, you won't find me near a church anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the regards of like him, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But
well, I'm just saying because the internet is like, yo, I don't know if his mom would agree. Yo, how you gonna say that when your mom is a physicist, even though your dad is like a super fly, highly finance guy, you know?
Right.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
I thought it was worth
people do
mentioning,
tend to
but
lean away from their parents.
well, that's why I said I want to give a little pushback because I mean I was curious what you thought, of course,
Yeah.
but also I feel like sometimes the internet got to chill. It's fun and it's funny, and I see their point, but also you don't have to be a carbon copy of mom and dad. This is not the Allstate commercial.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to become your mom and dad. You're allowed to have your own, even if it's fucked up, but you're allowed to have your own views, whether they are skewed or not. Whether they are contradictory or not, you are allowed as an American citizen to believe whatever you believe. So if he believes differently than mom and dad, that's okay. Like you said, if his wife is down, then that's really what matters because it don't matter if mom, dad, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandma, grandpa don't agree. If him and wifey are rocking, then I guess it don't matter.
Cut to a year later, they're getting a divorce.
You read my mind. I wasn't even going to wait a year later. I was going to say now,
like 6
now
months.
in a month or two, if we see her give a public statement that say, hey, fuck him and the horse he rode in on, I'm out.
I always love situations like that.
I'm getting divorced. I'm going to find my career and a new man. I want half of that $300,000 a year salary he gets. And I'd be like, hey, anybody got former Miss Butker's, anybody? Or whatever the name is.
Butker, yeah.
Anyway, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the only other part I wanted to talk about, which is kind of funny, you know, I'm coming from Man Cave Monday, coming here to guest spot, and it's a man topic that happened in within the thing. So we did like for a brief moment in the clip say to men, you know.
Oh, be unapologetically masculine.
Yes.
How can we forget that?
Right.
See, that's why you're the man, because I didn't even think about that stupidity. I forgot all about it.
That was honestly, that's kind of why I like brush. I was like, wait a second. Like, yes, that's crazy, but like, this is funny. Like, this is actually the joke. So yeah, he's like to be unapologetically masculine and fight
what does
culture.
that even mean?
manly men, manly men.
Man.
Fight cultural emasculation of men. Um,
He did say that.
I mean, I've had, I've voiced my opinion, about like the whole cultural emasculation topic before, and it's a weird space because it's not exactly true, except
But
for like a pocket of people that are like, oh, and I think it leads to what it is like third wave feminism, where that's that, like, when people speak on feminism in that regard, it is a lot more about, men are unimportant and not needed and all of that. And yes, there is, a corner of feminism that focuses on that, but that isn't feminism's ideals. That isn't what like feminism actually is about, right? It isn't about not
no,
needing.
I agree.
Right. It's about like bringing balance and bringing equity to both sides.
Yes.
That's more what it's about than it is
Yes.
about, women are the same as man. Like, no, that's not really what the conversation is. That's an
No.
exaggeration of what it is.
Right.
And then you have the pocket of people that are like, well, men just aren't needed and they should all just die and they're all criminals and they're all evil. And okay, like, calm down. Like, nothing's that serious.
And that reminds me, I have no degrees, but I did go to college for just a little bit. And I had to read in one of my classes Anti-Men Manifesto. And that shit was super hot fire. It was super funny and interesting. But that's what you just made me think about. The Anti-Men Manifesto.
So I think it's hilarious that this is a thing that he like pushed out as well. And in the CNN clip, when they're like discussing what happened, just to like paraphrase one of the, or semi quote what the guy said at the end of the clip, said, young men are in real crisis in this country. The backlash you get, the resentment you get with young men is that it makes this stuff real attractive because it explains why they're having their problems. And it's a bad story to tell young men. That brought me back to this video I saw from this one creator, Shoe on Head, where she does like, these video essays, and she approaches these different topics from like semi-comedic view. And two of the videos that she did that are kind of tied together is the male loneliness epidemic and how to be a real man. And
that second one.
So I love her titles because they're always this like super like thing like that, and then it's like, well, this is what people are saying. And so in the how to be a real man video, she discusses basically what this guy said in that quote. And like she has like a whole conversation about how people are, because of this whole shift to men not being needed, right? And disparaging of men in general, they're starting to feel a certain way, and then they get picked up by the right because the right is telling them, well, this is why you're feeling that way, and this is the way things should be, and they hate you. And that's kind of the way the conversation is being pushed is, oh, the left hates you. And it ends up becoming this echo chamber very easily because you get a lot of people that are like extremely on that end that I was talking about in that pocket that are like, yep, men are garbage. They deserve to be lonely. They deserve to die. They deserve to kill themselves, all of that, because like that was like a big focus on her topic in the male loneliness epidemic is like the male suicide rate. And so it's like, oh, and this is tied to, the way, they're being treated for just existing. Like they themselves didn't do anything. Like they're literally a child, and they have to go through this, and they have to be pushed to be a man. And then apart from that, oh, well, men are this, and that is what they keep getting fed. And then you have people on the right like, yeah, like, see, they hate you, they don't like you, they don't want you to be important, and then that's what they feed on, is that insecurity that has been bred by like everything that they're seeing, and they push that and build that up and build that up, and that's like what those videos were kind of pointing to. And I think it was hilarious, especially because she ends up like quoting CNN and other places that are doing that, are like, well, men are XYZ, and not finding that middle ground where, like, okay, like, we understand that not all men are like this, and if we really want to change them, it isn't about telling them they're evil and they deserve to die. It's actually teaching them better. Like, you need to do that. And if you're not going to actually, speak to them and speak to their problems and listen to what they're saying their problems are, and just say, oh, your problem is you're a man, and then you have the other side telling them there's nothing wrong with you, right? There's nothing wrong with you, it's them. This is how things should be. And they're only that way because, XYZ is happening, and these people are trying to do this, and you need to be stronger and buck up and do this and that and change. They're giving them an answer. And like the guy said, it's a bad story to tell them, but like, that's what they're hearing and that's what they're getting. And so that ends up like breeding more, bad situations when it comes to men, because that's what they're going to lean. And it's not even that they're leaning right, whatever. If they lean right, they lean right, but they're going that way because they're being heard on that side, or they're being made to seem like they're being heard.
Okay.
And the other side is like, why is this happening? Like, why are so many men going alt-right? And it's like, well, that's why, because they're on one side, they're being told that they're hated and they deserve to die, and the other side is like, nah, that's not true. Come here. Like, you should be powerful. You're a powerful person. You're a man. You should be in control. And if you're hearing those two messages, like, obviously, if you don't have any better sense of, what's the truth, you're gonna go, well, yeah, that they're telling me good things. I want to hear more of this. Like, this seems like the right answer.
Yeah, I think.
No, that's it.
I think with the emasculation of men topic or agenda, however you want to phrase it, I think it's a multi-layered conversation. I agree there's some politics. I agree there's some media manipulation. I think there's a lot of things that are going on within that whole situation. I don't think it's a just cut and dry conversation. I think there are a lot of pieces to the puzzle. It's true that those rates are going up in men, but I don't think it's simply because of one thing, right? I don't think it's simply because of the small pocket who's saying y'all are worthless, we don't need you, etc. I think there are lots of contributing factors. Women are making more than pretty much ever in history. The financial aspect in households is very different today than ever before. Women are out educating men. Those numbers are continuously rising as far as higher learning degrees, right? So there are more and more women with higher levels of education academically. So basically, we have smarter, wealthier women. And this is that alone. Forget about politics, but there is politics. Forget about media manipulation, which there is that also. Just those two things can shake a person to their core, because the idea in this society, especially this secular nation, is that yes, men are the strong ones, men make the decisions, men make the money, men provide, men. And so now, here is a man, example, I'm freestyling here, but if a man is a janitor making $50,000 a year, and his wife is a PhD making $110, a whole lot changed. What do you do when your woman says, "Hey man, now that I graduated, you held it down while I was getting shit, while I was getting my life together, getting these degrees. Now I just got a job. I start tomorrow, baby. Give me a kiss. Mwah! $110. Oh shit, more than double what I make. And so I'm not the breadwinner. So she gonna try to make decisions. So she runs the house now. It's like all these questions that cats don't know what to do with. And then you got the politics. And then you got the media. And then you got social media. Woo! And so yeah, it's a very layered conversation.
Yeah.
I don't even think we could do it by ourselves.
Right.
I don't think we could do it in this video episode or standalone, whatever this is going to be. I think that there's a lot to unpack. I also think that those statistics that we are mentioning need to be brought up, and so we can accurately use those statistics and have a real conversation. But I don't know what the fuck unapologetically masculine means. But anytime someone says unapologetically, it comes across to moi as, yo, do whatever the fuck you want. And just do it in the name of blah, blah, blah. In this case, masculinity. So go drag your girlfriend around the hotel hallway and then say, hey, I'm unapologetically masculine.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. I'm using an extreme example, a foul example on purpose. It's nonsense.
Right.
Telling people to be unapologetically anything usually is not a good idea.
Yeah.
And if you really think about it, why would someone be unapologetically anything? I'm not going to say you shouldn't do it at all, ever. Clearly, situations and circumstances matter, but it's a really blanket statement that comes across as anarchy in the UK. You feel what I'm saying? Do whatever, whenever, however, and just say, but I'm a man.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
Hey, why'd you slap the shit out of Nestor? I'm a man. Hey, why you ain't clean the crib? I'm a man. Yo, why you ain't wash your ass? I'm a man. Okay, so you just a man with whatever. You just do whatever and blame it on being a man. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's wrong, that people are not emasculating men, that there's not a clear rise in certain things. Clearly, we just discussed it, but let me just say in plain English, he's not all the way wrong. But I think it's a much deeper conversation because to just put out these blanket statements, the devil's in the details, right? Yeah. And so you need those details to be able to paint a clear picture. You can't just say, hey, this is everything right here. No, it's like a 1,000,000-piece puzzle. We can't just hold up one small piece and say, hey, this is it right here. This piece right here, it is everything. No, there's mad pieces to this puzzle. Mad pieces.
Yep.
And it's about also how deep you want the rabbit hole to go, because it gets deep. I mean, the CNN and the media are not saying that for no reason.
Right.
Politicians are not saying that for no reason. So yes, there are issues. There are men being emasculated. There are men shaken at their core because society is changing in ways that they don't know how to deal with because of their core belief systems. And yeah, that's an issue. He's right about that. But not all the way, because it's not that simple. And that unapologetically masculine shit, it's going to get y'all fucked up if you ain't careful. You can't just be doing whatever the hell you want and say, hey, I'm standing in my masculinity, okay? All right, well, stand in your grave or stand in your jail cell. I don't know, whatever, it's going to vary, but you can't just do stuff and be like, well, because I wear glasses, I do blah, blah, blah. Nah, because being next to wear glasses, that's what we do. We unapologetic glasses wearers, okay? That's what we do, okay? If you don't wear specs, you can't even talk to me. Unapologetic, okay? It's just nonsense. So yeah, that's my closing statement.
Okie doke.
Anything else?
No, I mean, I think we hit most of at least what I wanted to talk about with what I saw from that clip. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
Do you hate this guy now?
I don't hate him.
Okay, how you feel about him, real quick? You know what I mean?
I feel like he needs to be educated. So I feel about a lot of people. It's like,
Hence the platform.
it's like, oh, you just need to learn a little something. You just
The platform.
open
You know
your
what I'm saying?
mind. You know?
Well, you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate him either. I think it was, like I said, I think he made a lot of smart moves, knowing his audience and
Yeah.
if this was a paid gig or not. You know, he also was able to further push his agenda. He's got a lot. His name is all over the internet. It's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. And so, you know, it was a good play, whether you agree with it or not. You know, he did that, as they say.
Yep.
So I think that part, but I also think he's a tool. He's a tool. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be. I mean, that's my view. I can't say let's be honest because it's perspective, but I think he's a tool. Like, because that's not. This ain't a GOP convention. This ain't a
Right.
Republican
That's
convention. It's people. It's young people graduating. Like, they didn't spend mad time and mad, money, and gone through all type of changes to get these degrees, and that's what you do. You just shove the agenda down their mouth, like.
Yeah. You gotta make
tell 'em-
sure. You gotta make sure that they know on their way out that this isn't the end. There's more out there, like getting married and having kids.
Getting married and having kids. That's it.
That's
You know
it.
what I'm saying?
That's all there is
Vocational.
for you.
Vocational. You know what I'm saying?
Word, that's your vocation. Housewife.
Exactly.
Homemaker.
Housewife. Trad wife.
Trad wife. Yeah.
All right, that's it. I'm out.
Okay.
Ness, thanks for being here. I appreciate you jumping on here with me to have this wild conversation. Listeners, subscribers, commenters, thank you too. Feel free to let us know where y'all stand on all the 80 points of this topic that we jumped on. And let me know if you want to, hear more from Nestor. Nestor, tell them where they can find you at.
I have no idea. Bare minimum?
Bare minimum.
Bare minimum
Insta.
on the Instagram.
Come on, son. I'm not supposed to do your job for you.
I just been on an extended hiatus. So bare minimum's been kind of quiet.
Bare minimum
and the
_Insta.
Yep. And then the what's that guy? What's those guys?
TikTok.
The unprofessionals? The unprofessionals,
Oh, the Unprofessional Podcast. Come on, let them know.
Unprofessionals podcast that's been a little quiet lately, but we'll see what happens. Trying to figure things out there. And TikTok's nothing. That's just my personal thing.
I agree. I disagree. Your TikTok is way more lit than your Instagram. Be on TikTok giving it up. All type of fly stitch videos. Bare minimum.
I have a whole bunch of stuff bookmarked on there. I gotta that I wanted to respond to, but I never got around to it.
you be going in, son. That's where the people should follow.
The drafts is crazy on TikTok.
Oh, yo. Oh, you one of those people with 200 videos in the draft? I don't know how y'all do that. Yeah, I don't know how y'all do that. My daughter does the same thing. She'd be like, Dad, let me show you a video. Hold on. It's in my drafts. 5 minutes later, I'm like, you good?
Why aren't you?
She's like, no, I'm still looking. There's a lot of videos in my drafts. I'm like, you've been looking for 5 minutes in the drafts? Damn.
They're not ready. You gotta craft it. You gotta get it just right. You know what you want to say, but you don't. Like, you need to
just put it out.
Just right.
Just put it out. Perfectionism online. Perfectionism in content doesn't exist, man. Even when you think it's perfect, you're still gonna find something after you publish it to say, damn, I should have did this part differently. Just put it out, man. Learn as you go.
Yep.
Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much, everybody. And I hope you enjoyed this super long, wild conversation. Ness, thank you again. We see y'all later.